Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
Welcome back to episode 7 of the Retro Disney World Podcast. This month's titled The Receipt is in the Bag. We're going to be going through all sorts of souvenirs, souvenir shops, and one of my favorites, the pictorial souvenirs. So, as always with me tonight, JT, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. How?
All right, hello.
Hello and aloha from How. And Brian, how are you?
Good evening, campers.
So we also have some special guests coming on tonight. We've got some of our listeners coming in to tell us about some of their favorite souvenirs. But first, we usually go over some corrections and comments. I just had a couple notes and stuff I wanted to go over, and I don't think we have much else to go over from last. Did we get any other comments from last month, Howard?
No, our podcast last month was flawless.
Flawless. No corrections, no nothing. So, all right, perfect. All right, so what I wanted to go over first is actually I just got back from a trip to Disneyland, and I normally wouldn't bring this up, but I just wanted to give some thoughts here and see what you guys thought as well. It was neat to go there and obviously see the original park and walk around, and yeah, sure, there's California Adventure, and we had a lot of fun there, but what was really, really neat is that for any of our listeners out there that kind of want to have that feeling of what certain aspects of Walt Disney World were like back then, I can't recommend enough a trip over to Disneyland. Now, I don't know, have you guys been out there anytime recently? Have you ever been there? Or?
I've never been.
Never been.
I have been twice.
Okay.
Once in 2006 for the 50th anniversary, and then I was there in summer of 11.
Okay.
While California Adventure was under major overhaul.
Yeah.
And then I'll be heading out sometime this year. This year being during the 18-month celebration of the 60th. So
yeah, we missed everything by about a week or two. So what about you?
Let's see. I went there in 98 and then again in, I think it was 2000 because Rocket Rods was open.
Ooh, Rocket Rods, yeah.
And then and they got that one right under the wire. And then went again, and I think it was 2004, 2005 for the 45th anniversary of the Tiki Room.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right, so you've been out there. So you guys who've been there, you walk around and you see the incredible use of space. Like I was amazed that Mr. Toad, you get on there and even the little tiny garden, every little bit is crammed in, and there's little walkways connecting. But what's really neat, and the things I wanted to point out, we've talked about the magic shop on Main Street that used to be there, Walt Disney World. Well, it's still there in Disneyland. I found the cast member approach there to be completely different. And I could be speaking just from a perspective of nostalgia and looking at a different way, but I wasn't the only one that came away from with these feelings too. My wife, really enjoyed it and just felt that it felt less rushed. Less fast passes. And I really found that the vacation club stuff and the photo passes, they weren't pushed on you. It was like, if you want it, here we are. I didn't feel like people were waving things in front of our face. But, the other thing that was really interesting, there's still things that are left to decay. You mentioned the Rocket Rods. The poor track is sitting there over Tomorrowland doing absolutely nothing. Branches are in the way of it now. And, the Sky Bucket Station is still tucked away in Fantasyland behind Dumbo. You can kind of still make it out through some trees. So I don't know if anybody else out there shares those same thoughts, but I just wanted to open with that and throw it in that I did have a lot of retro feel, and some of it may have just been nostalgic of walking through the original park. But we had a great time, and it was really nice to see some of the original stuff that we've lost at Disney World know that it's still available in Disneyland. So with that said, it's time to move on to our main topic and getting into souvenirs. I'm going to kick off this segment with pictorial souvenirs. For those of you that don't know what a pictorial souvenir is or haven't heard of it before, throughout the years, Walt Disney World Company, including dating back to Disneyland, have included for the sale in the souvenir shops these books that outlay, pictures of the resorts, pictures of the different lands, things you can do, and really in a time when photography and movie film, as we discussed, was expensive. This was a very inexpensive way to take back a memory of the park and also bring back photos of the insides of attractions that you normally wouldn't have a camera, at that time that had the capabilities of taking pictures inside. So the pictorial souvenirs, have changed quite a bit over the years, and I've actually followed them and wrote a little brief article on retrodisneyworld.com about it. So we're going to kind of run through those and go through there. So you guys have a couple of them, right? I think all of you.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Right. Now,
Disneyland as well as.
Oh, you got the
Walt
Disneyland ones too. Nice.
That's one of those things you used to be able to randomly come across them in antique stores and things
Yeah.
for not a lot of money at one point.
Right.
So.
And the Disneyland ones, especially the old ones, have really jumped up in price, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's like, I don't know if the early Walt Disney World ones are going for a lot now. It seems like that you can still get them between like what, $4 and $8 maybe on eBay.
Yeah. The last one, the only one I ever owned was from my first trip in '88. So it was the blue cover one. And somewhere over the last 20 years, it disappeared. So I'll have to replace it at some point.
This one here, Brian.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one in a few minutes. So I dial the pictorial souvenir timeline back to 1969, actually, which sounds a little weird. But I put this in there because it was the first real book about Disney World when it was being worked on and planned. Now, whether or not this fits into there, but I know how you guys have seen this before, the complete edition of Walt Disney World. Now, a couple of them have the little, mine has I don't know if you guys can see it on there on the video feed, but it's got a corporate note in there with a paper clip to the licensees. And, I kind of put this in here because it really was the first published book, while not a souvenir. It kind of helped set the stage for what was to come. So then we get into, after that one, which, by the way, has some great information in it if you can find it, a complete edition about Walt Disney World. Then the real official kickoff. These go for a lot, right? How the preview edition, the 1970 preview editions, the cost on these can get up there. You can catch them for a steal now and then.
Yeah, but those are certainly going for a lot now.
Right.
But to your point, to the point I think you're going to get to, it's like we now see that pictorial souvenir format of the 8.5 by 11 sideways, and
exactly,
bam, it's right there.
Right. The first one I talked about, the complete edition about Walt Disney World, was more of a standard book format. But when you turn the 8.5 by 11 in the landscape mode and you bind it with only 2 staples, you get this wide open book that can be flipped through. Now, the 1970 preview edition, if you can find one, is a fantastic look and read. There's more words in it than pictures. As we'll talk about a little later, they went more pictorial later on per the name. Now, as I wrote on my blog, if the cover doesn't get you excited, then no retro Walt Disney World material ever will. The cover features a fantastic photo of the model. And I mean, in this one, you have not only the Asian and the Persian, but Howe's favorite resort has the original tower, right?
That's right.
Towers on it. The Tomorrowland we spoke of in the Tomorrowland episode has the tall, gleaming circus-like tents, and you got the Persian off in the distance. And the contemporary, as it looks today, as we've discussed, that hasn't really changed. So what's really interesting about that is that this was done beforehand. It's got a lot of early concept art. There's barely a picture of construction, if anything, in here. There's pictures of Imagineers working on different aspects and audio animatronics, and who knows, it could be stock photography from Disneyland. It's hard to tell. But this was the real first thing, and how I think we discussed before, this was available at the Preview Center, right?
Yes,
yeah.
It was.
So it was available there. So with that said, we're now going to get into the era of the real pictorial souvenirs. Now, guys, through the years, how many how many years do you think they kept some of the formats before they changed them? Do you know?
2 to 3.
Okay. How, Brian?
4-year windows.
Yeah, 4 year. Yeah, it was about 4 to 5 is what they did. They can, but what I say kept the same format is that the covers stayed the same, majority of the photos stayed the same, and they started to just change the back cover or the inside back cover of things that were coming soon. Change out the photos inside, put a little different change here. It was funny because I used to collect every single one. I had 72 through 76, and then I started looking at them one day and going, there's really not much difference to them all. I wound up selecting my favorites out of them and paring the collection down. I really didn't need all of them. So the first, what I call the early years, is the pictorial souvenir from 71 to 76. Now, what's really interesting about this is that if you flip through it, there's no photography in here that is staged. Everything was taken from a candid perspective. Nobody's looking at the camera and smiling. There's nothing purposeful about it. They were taken as if you took the photo. And that's really, really changed over time. One of our listeners actually called this out, Kurt Shamala. And he sent some great pictures of comparing, what the photos looked back then compared to today. And there's a fantastic one of this little kid driving the Grand Prix Raceway, and you can tell he's driving, he's having a good time, and he's studying the course. And the next one, you can clearly tell from more modern times, the girl's laughing over looking at her dad, not even driving. The car's not moving. There's no blur. The father's looking on with this blank stare off into space and with a goofy hat that's nothing's moving in the wind. And same thing goes for Space Mountain too. They were just, all these photos were just taken with the actual action happening.
But even so, there's a couple of really artsy shots in some of those early pictorial souvenirs too. Yep. Some really cool little stuff.
Yep. And there's some classic ones that that people have probably seen time and time again. I love the one of, I call it it's like Earl and Edna in the Contemporary having their breakfast or afternoon tea in the eggshell chairs. Yeah. That one's a great one.
And someone is obsessed with taking pictures of people's feet too in the early ones. There's all these shots of feet. I don't know if they had a foot fetish or what was going on there, but
yeah, you can definitely tell this thing had interesting thought. I also think Brian, was it Passport Dreams to Old and New who did a great synopsis of some of these too, where they dug into all the different people and what they were doing. Wasn't that a couple years ago they had that?
You're catching me off guard. I'm unprepared on that one.
We'll have to look it up.
I do want to note for people listening at home that there'll be a link that you can actually go to on our retrodisneyworld.com that actually summarizes each of these pictorial souvenirs with pictures of the covers and all that we have up. So
exactly.
You should have that up if you're listening at home in front of a computer.
Yep. And if we don't have all the pages scanned right now, I'll make sure that we get at least photographs of them up, so that way you can page through this and see what's going on. Because owning one of these for yourself is fantastic, but until you can go get around to getting one of them, it's at least you'll be able to look at them and see the pictures.
Exactly. Now,
and the entire preview edition's up there on our site already. So
correct. Yep. So JT, make a note of that. We're going to link and get these things up there for them.
Yep.
And also to note, when you look through these, pay really close attention to what's going on in the photos. You're going to notice that some of them there may be something not completed yet in the background. Again, nothing was done to obscure reality. They were just taken as is, and really, really showed how the resort was. Now, with this first set, something came up to in 1975, and I consider it the most overused stock photo of Space Mountain. I mean,
it comes.
And I also call it Polka Dot Shirt Girl Rides Space Mountain. I don't know how many years they used this photo. I mean, it seems to me that, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, this thing appeared everywhere, right? I mean,
yeah, somebody liked it.
I mean, it showed up a lot, but It was interesting. I did some research on it. I found a Facebook group, and we were actually able to determine how and when this photo was taken. And we have solved the mystery of who Polka Dot Mystery Girl
It's like your
is.
doctoral thesis right here. Like you just been. This is your life's work. It's come to fruition.
Coming down to this. So what I found out was interesting was that photo was actually taken on shakedown rides. That is, when Space Mountain was getting ready to open, they'd put all the sandbags on, making sure that no humans would get injured and no inflict any damages. And when they started doing the shakedown rides and with actual passengers, they started to put employees and guest members on there. So this is a promo photo shoot that was done prior to the opening of Space Mountain, and all three individuals that you see in the car worked at the golf resort. And in the rear we have the manager of finance, Frankie Turner, Skip Palmer, the general manager, and then in the front, the Polka Dot Girl is Betsy Shriver de Moray, and she was the executive assistant of the golf resort hotel. So just like that, we've solved the mystery of Polka Dot Shirt Girl. I can relax now. I can
Tell your wife, you're like, honey, you'll never believe what happened. And she's like,
no,
it
doesn't matter. She thinks this is geeking out no matter what. So.
I've done it.
My suspicion of these overused publicity photos. Mm-hmm. Last month we talked about the shot from World of Motion, where the farmer's in the mud with the pigs, or the guy that
the Colonel Sanders bald guy. Yeah,
yep.
Right, that one, and then the guy popping up out of the sewer, and then the other one that comes to mind is how they use that film footage of Pirates of the Caribbean and Disneyland in promotional stuff up through the 90s.
Yeah, with the exploding barrel and everything, right?
Yeah, so I think the crux of it is that to go in there and actually photograph or film a dark ride, it's not like taking pictures of somebody in the teacups.
Right.
And so it's such a pain in the butt that, once they have a good shot, we're going to use this until it's completely ridiculous for us, to keep using it. And so that's why you see them shots for sometimes 20 years or more.
Exactly. Now, and I have a link to what I think is that there may be another one, but this even went as far as you point out, the video footage and footage. There was one done for Space Mountain that was so poor you could tell it wasn't on the ride. It was mounted on a gimbal, and there was somebody underneath moving them or rocking them back, and they threw lights. It was like somebody was throwing light bulbs past them. I was nodding, and
I've seen that. Yeah,
and it's horrible. It's really bad. So
we'll have to do some research, because I know in some of the early Disneyland pictorials, a lot of the photography came from National Geographic, because they went and shot the park for that 1963 issue.
Right. The famous issue. Yeah, that's right.
So then they got the rights to use those for the pictorials, and then they had a contract with, I think, GAF to use the photography that was shot for the Viewmasters in a lot of other places too. So you saw those same shots from the Viewmasters used in a lot of the pictorial souvenirs as well.
Yep.
I think finally when they got around to Walt Disney World, they actually sort of like kicked open the publicity department, and maybe those shots finally started to come internally. I think I know the right person to ask about that. So let me do some checking, and I can have some corrections on for next time, and get a little bit more info on that.
On episode 8, that would be great. So
yeah, but certainly staging, and especially in that Space Mountain thing, because you're trying to catch in that particular shot. You've got a car going up the lift while that car is coming by, and that is you got basically in those old days too. You had one shot. You couldn't. I don't even, unless they even shot it like multiple takes with a strobe or something. It's like you had one shot at doing that. So that shot could have taken hours and hours to get.
Right. Exactly. So the other interesting thing with the 71 to 76 series is that they were, now this could just be my interpretation of it later on, but I bought a couple of these. The color saturation in a lot of them was really pushed, and I don't know if that was just a limitation of the printing of the day, but certain reds and blues would just really, really pop out. When we get to the next series, 77 to 82 was the next one. That color saturation started to come down a little bit, but a lot of the same photos were in there. But now you had more pictures of Space Mountain. You started to Thunder Mountain. What's really interesting is a lot of the pictures really remain the same throughout the years, but they changed the layout a little bit, put a little more words, a couple more words in there, little titles here and there. But I'm flipping through right now. I'm trying to see what's just here. This is the 81, and there's still the picture of the Polynesian with the yellow and green floor in 1981, which I think by that time it had to be replaced by then, right? 81.
What's the cover of the one you're looking at now? What does that look like?
The cover of the one it's like a mosaic.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Right. So it's actually it's a mosaic of Mickey's head in the Walt Disney World logo if you were to, zoom all the way out, right? So very, very popular one. This one again ran to 1982. Again, there's some great photos in there. You've got Recreation is also in these as well, but Edna and Earl are still in here in 1981 in their egg cup seats. They're still overlooking things, and River Country is added, and boy, River Country looks fantastic. I mean,
mint condition.
mint. But
I forgot to ask, in that 1970 version, is there any photos or reference to Roy's cabin?
Not that I'm aware. However, it's funny you ask. There is a photo. I gotta find it here. There is a photo of a woman standing with her. I don't know if you can see it there.
I can see it.
See, she's just standing there, kind of in the lake. It looks like they're fishing. So that could be it.
Could be right in front of Roy's cabin.
Could be right
on
there.
Roy's beach.
Yeah, right on Roy's beach. Who knew? Who knew he had that? So now that we get through 77 to 82, we have a new park open. Epcot opens up, and the pictorial souvenir is really still at the time just Magic Kingdom and the resorts and recreation. And Epcot was actually given kind of its own. I put it into the category of pictorial souvenir, even though we've talked about this one in the past. It was given out to Magic Kingdom Club members. Did we ever determine if it was for sale, or was this?
No, I don't think we. It seems like it would be with the. It seems like there were two versions. One, if it wasn't for sale, while the park was open, it could have been one of those things where it was for sale during the construction process.
Right, similar to the preview edition.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So we've talked about this on the Epcot episode, and this is by far the thickest and largest in what I put into the pictorial souvenir. I don't know how many pages this thing runs, but this was done pre-opening of Epcot, so majority of the items in here are concept artwork, maybe a few pictures of some models, but everything is the World of Motion one has a great model of the hijack train scene and the jitney bus and stuff. There's also some great stock photography in here of people looking at computers basically the size of refrigerators and how the UNIVAC Sperry system was going to work. But again, this didn't have any actual pavilion information, or I shouldn't say information, photos of people doing anything. But if you like concept art and really want to look at what the Imagineers were thinking back in the late 70s and early 80s of designing Epcot, that's really where to look. So now Epcot opened in 82. We've got a whole year actually before Epcot was added to the pictorial souvenir, which in 1983 they finally put Epcot in there a year later. And this is the first time that the book starts to look what I would quote unquote say modern. This could just be that the paper hasn't yellowed over the years, but it certainly is a better quality print. There's a specific font that they used in here now. There's a lot of the pictures have been updated. I'd say almost all of them. There's very few that were used from the past couple ones. And the shots are starting at this point to get a little more staged. You're starting to see, some really big, sappy, sweet smiles on people. And what's interesting is that when you go through it, the Magic Kingdom ones are like that. But Epcot being so new, they still didn't go back and do that just yet, and they're a little more off the cuff. There's a picture here of Italy, and there's like a woman bending over looking at a basket. It's just not a. It's just
awesome.
Yeah. So they very much similar to the way that the original ones were. And really, really, really neat stuff. So now, Brian, you don't have the purple one. So the purple is the 1983. You said you had the blue one. Right?
Yeah, the blue one that I got in '88. So the last year that blue one was on sale is the one I have.
Right. So the blue one that is probably one of the more popular ones. The 83 is hard to get because it was only out for 1 year. It is I think the thickest of them all. I haven't sat here and counted the pages, but the blue one that Brian's referencing there has the pretty much very similar photos on the front, the contemporary, the Magic Kingdom and Epcot, Spaceship Earth. But this one here, again, they're using the same font. A lot of the pictures haven't changed, and it's very, very similar to the 1983 one. We could sit here. Maybe, JT, that will be your thesis. You'll go through these page by page, do a complete comparison from year to year, and let us know.
Font changed on this one.
Exactly. Now, what's interesting is there's a new picture of River Country, and it's starting to look a little green in the water.
Yeah, look at that. What happened?
I don't know. Something about amoebas and algae. I don't know. Something like that.
It's all fake.
How's a local? He'll tell us what's going on.
I think that's all a scam, personally. Because why can I go ski with Sammy Duvall?
Now, there was a picture in this one. I don't know. Is this one in yours, Brian? At the very back cover, it says The Magic of Disney in California and Japan. And this picture here always intrigued me as a kid.
The covered Main Street arcade in
Japan. In Japan, and it always intrigued me, and I didn't understand. I remember asking my parents, why is the Main Street in Japan have no curbs? Why is it covered with glass like a giant pavilion?
You did not notice curbs as a young child.
I had a very imaginative.
It explains so much.
Yeah, you guys are really getting to me now. Okay.
And you said, why are there no curves? And there's that polka dot shirt lady again.
Yeah. Oh, of which, by the way, she did not just. I meant to sit back there. In the 77 to 82, she was still there. We finally saw her depart in 80.
Now, is she in the video? You know how they still play the video when you walk up? It's like got the retro-looking footage from the 80s. Is she in that or no?
We'd have to go look. I don't know off the...
Brian, go get on that.
We're going to have to find out.
I'll be there next week.
Wait a minute. You know what?
Field trip.
Check it out, guys. I have... Here she is. She's still here in 83.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, so that's the purple one. Now let's
year.
We're going to check 88. Let's see what year is this one.
I know you folks at home are hanging on every word here.
Let's ask astronaut Gordon Cooper.
What's that?
Yeah, he was there.
That's right. And here she is still in...
I mean, this is a big deal. This
84.
Is like,
you overuse this over and over and over. So she is in there in 84. So Brian, you have the last one, right? 88. So you're going to tell us. Can you find it?
What do you want to know?
Is Polka Dot Girl still in 1988?
If it's here, it's in a box somewhere.
Oh,
yeah, we got to wait.
I said that at the beginning of the show. Please try to pay attention.
I'm sorry. Anyway,
put the show on pause for a minute, and I'll see if I have it.
Okay, hold on one sec.
Hang on, I may have it handy.
There's my souvenirs.
All right, so we just checked the resources here. We don't have a copy of the 88 available quick, but we're gonna look that up. So after that, the pictorial souvenirs really started to decline. In 1989, we get Disney MGM Studios, and what I call the downfall of the pictorial souvenir begins. I didn't even check if they sell one now. I know they did up to a couple of years ago. I have the 2001. They're just not the same. The photos are just sticky, sweet, smiling kids, posed photos. They don't look like what they used to, and I've really fallen out of love with them. The pictorial souvenirs really used to be one of my favorite things to collect and go buy in the 80s. So if you've got more information on those or want to read more, as Brian said, we've got a link on here on the podcast to take a look at it. So, all right. With that said, guys, let's move on over to some of the merchandise venues and such. Let's see. We've got Lake Buena Vista Shopping Village, one of my favorite areas. Who wants to kick some of that off?
Lake Buena Vista.
I think the guy that actually visited it when it was Lake Buena Vista should start.
I was there. I don't remember.
I was there too. It was
Yeah.
I was there in '88.
I remember the candle factory. That was cool. Like they would heat these candles up that were multicolored, and they would then take like a hot knife or something and then peel the wax down and make all these crazy sculpted candles from that. Do you remember that, Hal?
Yeah, so I guess one of the things to talk about is, it wasn't as much as like today, if you go there, to the current incarnation of it at Downtown Disney, there's a lot of there's a lot of just like Disney souvenirs. Mm-hmm. But at that point, there wasn't a lot of just strictly souvenir stuff at Lake Buena Vista. There was that one store, I can't remember the name of it, that had a bunch of like character plush.
Right, yep.
In it, that had that really cool like airplane.
The thing it was animated flying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The wings would go up and down, and yeah.
I don't want to say steampunk because it wasn't steampunk, but
it was whimsical.
Yeah, and that had some Disney merchandise in it. But the rest of the stuff, it's like there was a ton of really cool stuff there. Even as a kid, it's like I love the toy store, Toys Fantastique. That was one of my favorite things to go to.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the only places that I ever remember. If you went in and went upstairs, they would have a table with like wind-up toys and those like little Tomy water toys that you would push the button and that they just had out that you could play with. So as a kid, that was really, really cool. But the rest of it was like normal clothes stores.
Right. And I think we mentioned one of the early episodes, Brian, you brought it up, the wine shop and a lot of this kitchen shop and art gallery stuff, because there was nothing around, right? We were in the middle of nowhere.
The original concept for building it was, one, obviously to serve the people who were staying at the resort, but was really for the Florida community that they had originally intended to build. That downtown area originally was going to be townhomes and, permanent residents down there. And this was intended to serve those and the growing local community. So, there were just, we referenced the wine store. I mean, the wine store, you had to go to either Tampa or head the other direction if you wanted to buy like anything other than, Ernest and Julio Gallo's finest at the supermarket, because there weren't, wine, quality things in Central Florida there. It was a pretty desolate place at the time they built it.
They had an awesome bakery there. My parents we would make a drive out there to get pies. Probably like every month or so, just as like a big special treat because their bakery was outstanding. They did have the Erebus Brothers shop even way back then. So, some of the cut glass and some of the blown glass things that you could take home as souvenirs. And I think they did like little Mickeys and different things out of glasswork. So that would kind of qualify as a full-blown souvenir.
Yeah. Yep. So, we'll eventually do a future show really just on Lake Buena Vista Village, because there's so much to talk about there. And it's going through its third or fourth incarnation, I guess, at this point. With Disney Springs, and
I'm going to bring on a guest for that too. The artist that we did restart some of his films, Dave Coolidge, because he had his paintings in the art gallery and remembers a lot of it and can really tell us how that was all set up. Which will be
keeping with the theme of extremely classy shopping experiences in the early years, we would move over to Epcot and the Centurium, which was their original shopping location, and Todd's reaction is the reaction of
everybody,
really, and anybody who visited it that wasn't a bored kid. It was how you might be able to. Either one of you might actually be able to set the stage.
Let's tell them where it was first. If in Epcot, at the left-hand side as you're going through, it's now Mouse Gear, right? And it goes kind of towards the back, but it was the place to shop in Epcot. How you probably can tell.
Why was it so good?
Had 2 floors.
But it doesn't now.
And half of it, the merchandise was awesome too.
Yeah, I'll say this. If you look back at early Walt Disney World souvenirs, and we should probably talk about this just for a second.
Sure. Yeah.
For a kid, there was not a lot going on. Right. And through the 70s. I mean, they had a lot of those like fugly glass candy dishes and like some oddball plastic back scratchers and
trays.
Like
Every
plates
kid's
and
favorite
like
souvenir.
yeah, there just wasn't real. I mean, yeah, you had the plush, but like there really wasn't a wide range of merchandise. A couple of T-shirts, but when you got to the Centaurium era, oh my gosh! I mean, you had Figment stuff everywhere and all kinds of great custom stuff.
Puzzles, little coin. I remember going gaga for the little Epcot coins. They had the different pavilions minted on them at Spaceship Earth, and yeah, and the Centaurium was great. I remember what was upstairs clothing or what?
So upstairs was
it had that great spiral.
Electronics,
yes,
and like some of the more expensive finer stuff. And I actually have very distinct memories of that because we would go to Epcot, and if I happened to get bored with some of the stuff around Future World, I would take the elevator upstairs, and they had an Atari 5200 next to an Atari 2600 Junior, and that they just had turned on, and they were sitting on the counter, and then there were TV sets behind the counter, and you could just go in and play Space Invaders or whatever the game was that was. I'm trying to remember. I think it was a weird variant of Space Invaders on the 5200. So that was one of the few places where you could actually try one of those things out. So I would go spend like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes in there. And the people who worked with the girls were always very nice. It's like they never said anything. We would chat a little bit and I would play, and it was great.
I remember the AC in there being frigid. It was a great place to get
I remember that as well.
Yeah, it was frigid in there. Now this is kind of disturbing. We were in there recently on 2 different trips. We went into Mouse Gear, and now it smells like sewage. I'm not joking. Twice I was in there, and on 2 different occasions, 2 different years, it smelled like sewage. Anyway, but yeah, you're right, Hal. I mean, that place, I bought, I think everything I can think of that I bought back in the 80s, I probably purchased there. It was the place to go and shop, and I was amazed walking through. You were just like literally a kid in a candy store.
What I remember is it was the closest thing you got to a department store on Disney property, because it did have these 2 levels. It did have things like jewelry and watches and electronics, and then there would be another section with character plushes, and then there was a boys clothing and men's clothing and women's dresses, and it wasn't just all Disney merchandise. I mean, they were selling it's a lot like some of the high-end resort gift shops now, where they had just name brand clothing and stuff that was also for sale. Because I mean, at the time, the whole idea of a resort vacation was very different then than it is today. So you had these people coming from all over the country who, it's like when you're on cruise ships and they have really expensive jewelry for sale, the kind of thing you wouldn't buy at home in a jewelry store. But I'm on vacation with my family and I'm going to splurge, and so I'm going to buy a $500 watch with Mickey Mouse on it.
Right.
Or you might just want to buy a Tag Heuer watch, and they had those for you too. Yep. But it was a really, I mean, if you ever see the pictures of it, we'll have to post a couple.
They're fantastic.
I mean, it was just a really, really stunning, way to display the merchandise.
I remember glass and mirrors, and I always would gravitate towards the book section. There was the videotape section too, where you could buy videotapes of the parks, and then, and then obviously the records, which we'll get to a little bit. So yeah, Centaurium is it now.
And you remember the display, like the huge, like rotating spaceship with like Mickey was inside the cockpit.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Was it Pluto that was like on a tether?
Tether outside, like
outside
the spacewalking. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm gonna have to go through some of my videos from '86. I may have some shots of that too.
And they had, I remember upstairs for a short time, they had like these models of the Dreamfinder ship that sort of like hung from the ceiling that I think were actually for sale.
Oh, really?
Like at that, and what was probably the seemingly ridiculous price of $250 in like 1982 money.
Yeah, inflation calculator, Brian. Go. We put him on the spot.
Actually, if we find, I know somebody who has she collects the merchandise catalogs that they had, because they used to, Disney put out catalogs like the Sears catalog that just had all the merchandise that they sold. I can ask her to look and see if those models of the Dreamfinder ship are listed there anywhere, and what the price was. So we might have to add that to the show notes somewhere.
Exactly.
And did we talk already about like why it was called the Centaurium?
No. What's the story behind that? How?
Well, it's like the Emporium,
But
But
Oh.
at Epcot Center, so it's the Centaurium.
it's not in the center. It's on the left side. It's on the east side. I'm having problems with this, Al. It's not in the center. Okay, I like that though. I guess.
Yeah, I want to also mention the other Epcot gift shop that
Yeah.
I had a particular affection for, not in its present incarnation, but when they opened the International Gateway in 1990, they have a shop there right at the entrance. So it's tucked off. So unless you're coming in or out the International Gateway, you'd have no reason to go down and patronize it. But what I remember from my trips in the 90s was that the World Traveler shop right there at the International Gateway, which is the back entrance, for those of you who don't know, the back entrance to Epcot from the Yacht Beach Club and Boardwalk Resort area. That shop always had the neatest stuff, and I would find things in there that I couldn't find in any of the other shops. Now, I don't know if it's just I wasn't as conscientious a shopper in some of these countries, and they culled just some of their best things, but I always thought that the merchandise in there was stuff I didn't see elsewhere, and really, really classy stuff. And now it's all the same T-shirts and everything you see in Mouse Gear and everywhere else in the park. But for the longest time, I would make it an absolute priority to stop in there because I always thought I found some of the coolest stuff that I didn't see in shops anywhere else.
Did they have they revamped the interiors in there lately? I have not been in forever.
They have not, but on my last trip there, which was 2 months ago, I made it a point to go in and look around. And in the at the register, they have those little almost like card catalogs of books and little items for sale and all right there around the register. And so they had a postcard booklet, and it was it's 10 years old. It was just it was advertising stuff that's been closed for like Honey, I Blew Up the Audience, or stuff that's been closed for years and years and years. And I was pointing it out to people, and look at this Epcot book. It's from like 2006, and it's now 2015, and so we had a little it is still a little bit like the land that time forgot. But
I bring it up because the interiors in that section of building are just gorgeous if they've been maintained at all. It's like there was one room that was done in a Charles Rene Mackintosh style, the Scottish interior designer, and they. Being between France and England, they actually kind of found this combination of craftsmen and Art Nouveau and the interiors that were going on during that time period to actually bridge the gap between those two countries. And there's just some beautiful stuff in there.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's real. It's totally worth a walkthrough.
Well, I'll take a look next week.
There we go. Let us know, Brian. Fill us in.
Yep.
So what else do we have? We got the House of Treasure next, right? Where was that?
So the House of Treasure so when you came out of Pirates of the Caribbean in the Magic Kingdom, of course there was the sombrero stand where everybody put on a sombrero and took.
Nobody bought one.
No one bought one.
No one bought one. They just take the. Oh, look at me!
What are you going to do with a 9-foot?
But
sombrero?
you know what? There's always someone that you would see. It's like the person who wins the giant teddy bear at the fair, right? You'd always see somebody with a sombrero going through security and trying to get on the airplane. I would see somebody. I've seen it. Crazy.
But,
so there are people that buy.
One of them, the McFarkles.
The McFarkles are the ones. Yeah, it's probably them.
So the outside market was there, and then as you came to go back into the outside, on your right there was an interior space, and it was closed for many, many years. Was I think just used as like a storage cabinet for the rest of it, but it got reopened recently to do the pirate makeup stuff in it. But when that was open as a store, it was just the coolest little space. I mean, it had the best of all the piratey stuff. It had the pieces of 8 coins and the skeletons.
Is that where they sold
ads? Yeah.
Well, so I must have been there as a kid because that's where I got the gun.
And it was just a sorely missed, people. I guess it was in some way kind of like our Court of Angels, where it was just this gorgeous little interior, perfect space. That got shut down and now got reconfigured and reopened again. And I really miss that. That had the coolest pirate stuff in it of all time.
Now, you missed that. Now, Brian, you missed something else over in
Disney MGM Studios, which I remember going to, and I've got a.
Well, I always remember coming and going from Disney MGM Studios. You'd walk in right through the gates, and there's this gorgeous gas station off to the right that did nothing but sell film and then soda.
Stroller rental now, isn't it?
Stroller rental, yeah,
stroller rental now. But
bottles.
I always looked over there and I was like, boy, that would be a really cool restaurant or something like that. No, it was none of that. It was just the vendor. So then off to the other side, on the opposite side, there's this house almost, it looks like, with the sign up there that it was Sid Cahuenga's One of a Kind. It also, draws you in. I don't know anybody who ever went to the park that didn't wander in there. And up until 2 years ago, I guess, I think it was
like
about
last year.
Was it? Well, we're into the 2015 now, so I think it was sometime in 2013. But for the park's first 23 years, it sold one of a kind movie memorabilia. So they had posters and programs and sheet music and
fake autographs,
real autographs, some real autographs.
And what is it now, Brian? What did they convert it
to? They cleared out all the merchandise one night.
Yep.
And turned it into a My Magic Plus service station. So,
Todd, you loved that, didn't you?
So without any commentary on that change,
we're not going there.
It was a sad loss because it was. Now I will say, I never actually witnessed anyone purchase anything there, but you'd go in and it was really cool because they would have some memorabilia and there were, hey, look, it's Al Pacino's jacket from The Godfather for sale.
Now I have
$1,000.
It's like the flower area.
I remember going in there in the 80s and there was a watch worn by Tom Hanks in Turner and Hooch, and it was like
it
was like $30. It was like $30.
Hollywood legend.
And
wait, you could buy the actual watch for $30?
One scene. What did they care? It was
for a couple of grand. You could buy Hooch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I went in there.
Touchstone film. I went in there. Why that was there.
Right. I went in there a couple of years ago, probably 2 years ago now, almost 3, and it was just really autographs. There wasn't much.
Was the watch still there?
No, the watch. You know how much I kicked myself for not buying that?
You could have with the DNA from the dog slobber on that thing.
Exactly.
You could reconstruct that dog.
Now, how
Jurassic World of Turner and Hooch.
How you spent some time there, right?
Yeah, so I was one of those rare people that actually bought crap there. So I have. You can listen to this. This is the sound of like 8.5 by, or I said 8 by 10 stills.
Wow.
So besides
could be money that you could have saved instead of
exactly.
Fanning through that pile of hundreds.
This is the sound of a sucker being born.
So what did you get? What did you get?
So besides the fancy autograph stuff, like I remember there's like an autograph of Walt Disney that was like $10,000 or something on the wall. What? And some of the other stuff, like I remember there was one time that I walked through there where they actually had props from Tron. So they had high Leicestas with just like black tape on them to make the patterns, and Frisbees that were spray painted white with like black tape to do the. That was one of the most disappointing things is like when you get to see a lot of these props up close.
They're junk.
They just look terrible. And for some reason they even had, I remember from Terminator 2, they had a bunch of like the impact bullet points that would go on the suit that Robert Patrick wore when he got shot. And it just looked like cheap, crappy plastic. I mean, it's amazing how well stuff reads on film compared to looking at it in real life. But one of the awesome things about it is it was kind of like this dumping ground for Disney publicity stuff that was sitting in a warehouse, presumably, that they just thought, okay, well, let's just ship it off to Orlando and see if we can sell it there.
Kind of like the whole theme park today.
Kind of like the theme park. So I got Roger Rabbit posters, like original one sheets. They used to have one sheets from all of the old classic Disney films from different periods, and particularly like they had some crazy Dayglow like Fantasia posters from like 68 or 69.
Light them up with a black light, huh?
Oh man, some trippy ass
secret
stuff.
Messages.
But they would have, and you would be able to buy like press kits from all the Touchstone movies. So, if you really wanted a down and out Beverly Hills press kit, you could have that. for like not a lot of money. But they sold a ton of these 8x10 publicity photos from different Disney productions. So I've got like a whole bunch of these black and white photos from Man in Space. Great shots of the actors and of the animation.
Hear how going through the files.
I have one of
to the archives
from Perry.
Oh
the
yeah,
squirrel,
yeah. Look at that.
Which I bought particularly because it's this odd configuration of like him jumping off of a sort of like this sand with the moon in the background. And what does that look like? Does that like look like something else to you?
Hard to tell from the distance.
It looks like a dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like I don't know if this was the inspiration for the shot in The Nightmare Before Christmas where like Jack and Sally are up on like the Kirby thing with the moon in the background, but holy crap, it looks exactly like that. Yeah. I've got stills from Victory Through Air Power.
Oh, nice. What did they sell these for, Hal? Huh? What did you pay? I see the price tags in the back there. I can't read
like $3 a piece.
Oh, all right. So you did invest hundreds here.
No, and I've got a couple of stills.
He's got 4,000.
Oh, this is 4,000. This is only the small amount.
I've got some stills from the Magic of Walt Disney World. So I got a nice shot of the Haunted Mansion and the Fife and Drum Corps.
Well, we'll be sure to share some of these.
Yes,
yeah,
and some nice pics from the Three Caballeros. So yeah, they had a lot of really really cool stuff there.
Cool. All right, this is normally the segment where we do the film restoration, discuss that. We're actually shelving that for just 1 month here while we bring in some special guests. We have some viewers who we're going to speak to live now and go over some of their souvenir favorites from over the years. We got people waiting in line tonight to talk to us.
They're beating on the door of my house. I had to call the police to say, shoo them away. It's insane.
Yeah, it's when JT goes out to the mailbag. Now he's got people. I
said, wait a minute. We can't do that to our fans.
It's getting crazy. So with that said,
yeah, there we go. Oh,
we're connecting. Hey,
Paula.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. We got JT, Hal, and Brian, and I'm Todd. How are you tonight?
Hi, good.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us. We wanted to go through some of your favorite souvenirs here. We got about 10 minutes we're going to spend with you and see what you got. So we just went through all the different some merchandise locations, and we're going to talk about our favorites after this. But what did you bring to show us?
Well, I think what started this conversation was that my dad collected little miniature liquor bottles, and one of his favorite places to get these was I guess it's Trader Jack's Grog Shop.
Oh, yes.
In Polynesian Villages, and then in the Village Spirits. But I love these. I never took the labels off.
Yeah, I love the price tags.
But there's the price.
We still got the price tags on them.
How much were they back then? What was it, $1.75?
Yeah.
$1.50 for a shot?
Has that price changed? I think it's about the same still.
About the same, it might be. Brian, inflation calculator.
Oh, come on.
80 cents for vodka, so
That's
nice.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff, right?
So Paul, where are you
this.
from? Where are you calling from tonight?
I'm calling from south of Houston.
South of
It's a
Houston.
town called Lake City.
All right. And when was your first time visiting Disney World, and how'd you get into the retro stuff and collect it?
First time 72. I don't really remember it. 76, I think, was the next one, and then we'd go like every few years. We never flew. I never flew until I was 22. We'd always drive a travel trailer, stay in Fort Wilderness for weeks at a time. So going to Disney was a big deal for us. We'd just have to save up. And my brother and I just collected all sorts of things over the years, and we still have them today. Surprisingly, my brother has all the collection. I had actually go to his house and get a lot of this stuff. I mean, I know it exists. I remember getting it. I remember where we got it from. But kind of just the retro stuff just brings back all those good memories.
Right. So where do you remember shopping, and what are some of your favorites?
Probably, and I'm sure you had to have mentioned it, right? House of Magic.
We have on earlier shows. Oh, Hal is smiling. Look at Hal. Hal is all excited.
Wow.
He's
what
clapping.
Is that for our listeners?
Look at that.
This is a ceramic skull that we bought from the House of Magic. I don't know, sometime in the early 80s, I would think. And I've had it for years. It's a piggy bank.
Wow.
It's one of my favorite, because it's classic Haunted Mansion, kind of scary stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It says nothing about Disney on it, but I do remember that we got it there.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And I remember getting, those little cheapy magic trick toys every time we go, like a magic wand or a little box that you put a quarter in and then move the lid and the quarter would disappear. Those things have just disappeared over the years, but I do remember going there, and that was one of the best places to go, on Main Street. I don't remember the one in Fantasyland, though, so I don't know. Did it close earlier than the one on Main Street?
I think so. I don't remember. A lot of that stuff got moved over into the old over by Mike Fink's Keelboats at some point. So like a lot of the ghoul masks and things that they used to sell in the magic shop also got sold over there too.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that one.
But yeah, I'll have to go back. I remember that I know that there was a magic shop in Fantasyland, but I cannot remember when it got closed down and what got moved into its place.
Yeah. But distinctly remember the one on Main Street. So that was it. And a couple of other things. These aren't necessarily favorite collectibles. They're just kind of weird stuff. When I went over to my brother's house to pick up all this stuff, I noticed that he's got a Epcot T-shirt.
Oh, look at that.
Complete in the bag.
In the bag.
It's worth some coin.
I'm like, I don't know why we still have it in the bag, but we do.
Tear it open. Do it. Right on air. Come
Just
on.
smell that fresh cotton.
So I'm thinking this was from the Gateway, maybe?
Hey,
yeah. We just talked about that. Yep.
On the right, because Mouse Gears wasn't a shop back in the mid-'80s.
Well,
it was on Unicorn.
We just talked about that. That was actually called Centaurium back then. So that could have been. What was the price on that? Just out of curiosity. We really should have
$750.
$750 for a T-shirt. That's impressive.
For a T-shirt.
That's a good value.
And then you got the obligatory license
plates. Yeah.
Which are also still in their sleeve with price tags on the back.
I'm gonna raise you one, Paula.
Yes.
It's still in the plastic.
Everybody's holding up their license.
Just so you know,
plates.
$750 in 1986 would be $16.06 today.
So
$16.
So for those of you at home, Paula just showed us the infamous striped colored Epcot license plate. The Magic Kingdom one that had a bunch of characters in front of the castle, and then Todd countered with the 1971 blue license plate.
Which there was a green one too. They made a green and a blue one, and my understanding is the blue is more rare.
Are we doing this on YouTube at some point with our
when
make it up with all the pictures?
Yeah, Jason is going to probably do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our silent partner. Back to you, Paul. What else you got?
Well, Fort Wilderness bumper stickers.
JT's all over that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Musket
that's
Mickey.
Where we stayed. So, we go the Settlement Trading Post. And Post and get all of our, swag. Musket Mickey before he became politically correct.
I'm going to hold up Encounter with a 1985 comment card that has not been filled in from Fort Wilderness.
Are you going to fill it in?
It says howdy. I thought I just felt like mailing it in. But it does have Musket Mickey on it right
Musket
there.
Mickey is the best, isn't he?
Yeah.
So did you guys ever play checkers on that checker set inside on the barrel?
I have. With the old guy in all the press photos.
And also, in the mid-'80s, they had a good selection of, video games. So you could do Pac-Man and Galaga.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Not anymore, though. Now it's junk.
Didn't realize that. Wow. Now, Paul, you had asked me in an email too about some of the restoration work, and we'll have to sync up afterwards on that. We can certainly help you out if you got more stuff to transfer. So, before we let you go, I thank you for taking the time this evening and joining us. Do you have any last souvenirs you want to show?
Oh well, and of course, when you're a kid, you don't get much money for souvenirs. So what do? You just pick up every free thing you can find, and you don't think about it at the time, but napkins.
That's
the Contemporary Resort, because going to the Contemporary from Fort Wilderness was just like, you're moving up in class a little bit.
You're going into the city.
Yeah, going from the servants' quarters to the mansion.
Yeah, and then even though my dad never said play with matches, of course we had to have every single match.
I have some of them. Yeah.
The Polynesian matches, Fort Wilderness matches, and of course the tobacconist.
Oh, strike one. Pick one. Light it up.
I have one of them.
Paula, do you have a bar of soap?
Not with me, but I do have bars of soap, yes.
All right. That's good to know.
Just in general, she has bars of soap.
We encourage cleanliness with all our listeners.
Oh, look at the passport she's got.
Wow.
But I do have a question for you guys, because this is something that we did, and I'm curious about it. So you remember these tickets.
Mm-hmm.
These were the long tickets, the passports, and they had the string on them.
Correct.
Yes.
Right? So this was from 1980. So my mom would make us wear these in the park. She'd even buy us a little pin.
Yep.
And so she'd pin it on our shirts, and of course we'd wear it, and we've got pictures of us wearing it. And I'm thinking, how did these things not fall off? You know, as much as it rains in Florida, you're a kid, you're running around. But do you know if that was the purpose? Were these supposed to be displayed on you?
They were. In fact, in one of our earlier episodes, we discussed it. I wish I had mine here. I had a yellow one from 1981. You did have to wear them because at the time, a lot of the attractions still required the ABCDE tickets, and also some of them I think you could pay, right? Some of them were 25 cents or 10 cents or something like that.
I don't know if they ever did the cash value.
They never did the cash value.
I don't know if
okay.
I can.
I know Disneyland did, but
Disneyland.
So Paul, what that was is that if you had paid for your resort and got an all-access ticket, that basically showed that you could get on those attractions without having to present any ABCDE coupon book.
Okay, so
it was an unlimited pass. So the around your neck with the piece of string, and you're absolutely correct. How people didn't lose them? I mean, it was literally a hole punch through a little card. I've got mine around, and the hole has certainly been ripped apart since then. But that's the reason. How guys? Anything else to add? To that?
For me, it was just abject terror of losing it that kept it around my neck, because I figured if that thing came off of me, my dad would just murder me. Plus, I wouldn't be able to go on anything for the rest of the day.
Exactly.
So it was fear that kept it in one piece.
So, Paul, your mother was smart. She pinned it to your chest as well as around your neck. You had two methods of securing it to your body. And
we had the redundancy with these little pins that I guess it was before pin trading was popular, these little cheap plasticky pins. I know we had a ton of these, and the only ones left are a Minnie and a Mickey.
I had a Mickey one similar to that I've got around somewhere. So that's pretty cool. Well, Paul, I thank you for joining us all the way from Texas tonight, and keep on listening, and appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
All right, JT, let's move on to our next call-in. Who do we have on the line?
Well, Paula is now gone. We have Keith Schneider. Am I saying that right, Keith?
Yep, you are right.
Well, welcome to the show, Keith.
Thanks for having me.
Keith, we understand that you're practically in Brian Miles' backyard, if not in there right now. We don't know, right? You're
right outside Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Oh, wait a second. Where exactly?
Downingtown.
All right, I'm in Bluebell, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. About a 20-minute drive there.
Yes, sir. I'll be right over. What are you making?
Well, Keith, thank you for joining us tonight. Great to have you on. We always love hearing from our listeners and hearing about. But I know you've got some different souvenirs you want to tell us about tonight. We before you joined, we went over some of the different souvenir locations. We talked about the pictorial souvenirs, but we want to hear from our listeners and what were their favorite things that they bought back from the retro years. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Disney fan since I was 7, so I'm going back to 1978. So, it's kind of funny. So I have I'm looking at it right now. It's a blue pennant. Remember the felt pennants back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
So it's from the 10th anniversary. So it's got a picture of the castle with a big gold 10 behind it. And it's kind of funny because, those must have been big in the early 80s. All the amusement parks had them. And then I don't think they sold them since probably the mid to late 80s, and they just vanished.
Yeah, the pennants, I remember those too. And you're right, every amusement park, pretty much everything out there had one. My wife actually had a pennant collection from all over the place. So does it say 10th anniversary you said on it?
It has it just got the number 10.
Just at the number 10, okay.
And it's got the old D logo with the the globe with the ears.
Oh, sure, yeah, that's what.
So I also have when the Smurfs were really big, the old PVC figures. Mm-hmm. So we got two Figments, one with he's holding a gold pot and it's got a rainbow coming out of it. And on the bottom of it, it says 1982 Disney. Of course, it's made in China. And then I have another one, which is a bigger one, where he's holding basically a spaceship Earth. And the interesting thing about him is apparently over time, I guess the figments changed because they got 2 different types of wings and 2 different types of horns.
Jeez.
Interesting.
And 2 different shades of purple, too.
Huh. Which one's your favorite?
Actually, I like the one holding spaceship Earth.
All right.
The one with the gold pot, is that where he's got the pot kind of under one arm and he's lifting the lid with the other? Is that the pot?
Yeah, and it's got a rainbow coming out of it, and he's got like a kind of, I guess, a little hat.
Okay. So in your email here, you say, I'm a huge souvenir fan, collect various things, including license plates. Now, we just had Paula on who showed us her license plate, and I countered her Epcot and character license plate with the blue October 1971 license plate. So what license plates do you have? Do you have some for the
I'm looking at a couple of them. I probably have about maybe 30 of them, but I kind of grabbed the oldest ones that I had.
30? That is impressive.
Awesome.
How is beaming from year to year?
I used to collect more, but then over time they kind of like vanished, and they kind of changed over. Like the one I have, you can hear it. It's the metal.
Mm-hmm.
So and then over time they changed to the cheap plastic ones. So I have one that says at the bottom of it's got Walt Disney Productions. So it's got Walt Disney World with the globe logo as well in red. It's got a picture of the castle, and it's got Brer Bear, Goofy, Donald, Minnie, and Mickey. So that's one of them I have. And then I have the one that says Epcot Center, the newest wonder of the world, with kind of a rainbow running through it with Walt Disney World at the top.
Is that the same? Is that the same one as Paula?
Yeah, that probably is.
Probably is the same one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I got 2 of those. And then I have one which is Mickey Mouse with the 15 years anniversary logo.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
With kind of confetti kind of hanging down on it as well.
Yep.
And then remember the old back scratchers?
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this just a couple. Yeah, what do you got?
So I got the Mickey Mouse at the top with the old, the old logo as well. Walt Disney World going down the red handle.
Right.
And on the back, it's got designated and made for Disneyland and Walt Disney World with Walt Disney Productions on it. So I have that. And then remember the old, I know they had one for 1982 for the Epcot grand opening, the old gold medallions that they basically used to have in, the ones I have are actually in like plastic kind of sleeves.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
They had the blue. That's the coins I was.
Yeah, exactly.
They were in a plastic sleeve. They had a gold. A blue. It was cardboard. I think some of them may have even had like a felt. And then the pewter type coin. There was a gold one. There were some pewter colored ones. I think the background in some of those eventually did change to a maroon, if I'm not mistaken, too.
All the ones that I have are blue. So I have.
They made what? There was an Epcot one.
Right, I have a Walt Disney World one with a picture of the castle with a monorail going in front, it looks like. And it's got the D logo, and actually in the coin itself, it actually does say at the top Walt Disney Productions. And on the back, then it's Mickey Mouse is in the middle, and then they break out all the lands.
Right, in kind of like a
compass.
Compass star pattern or something like that. Cool. Excellent.
And then I have a Disney MGM Studios. Now this is kind of a medallion, but it's got a keychain attached to it.
And you're pushing it with retro with Studios. We're just starting to get into the retro stuff here. So we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it.
All right. On the back of it says opening spring 1989.
No, that's completely acceptable. Yeah. Completely.
And I won't even mention the Animal Kingdom one.
No. No, that's not retro. No, there's nothing retro there about it.
Yeah. And then I also have I could go on and on, but the one thing I also brought up. I also have, remember, how basically pin trading's really big?
Right.
But now I basically have, I have a button collection. So
not pins, buttons.
Buttons, yeah.
Buttons. Back in the day.
So the circle ones with the pin back and the metal backing, right?
Yep.
Which I said earlier, I was in Disneyland a couple of weeks ago. Those are rampant there.
Yeah.
They still my son received a number of them at different locations and different events.
I got one in Disneyland on my first visit when we had breakfast at Ariel's Grotto.
Yeah, we got
out
one
there.
We got one at the Grand Californian. And then when my son directed the band, he got one. He got another one at one of the shops.
The one I remember they used to give at Disney World, which Keith may have, is at Minnie's Polynesian breakfast. Used to give you a button if you attended.
I survived.
Well,
potentially.
If lost, please
it wasn't
return.
the zoo back then that it is now.
That's true. So, cool.
Now the oldest one I have, which it's not a Disney Park one, but it's actually, it says on it, it has a picture of Mickey Mouse, and it says "Follow My Adventures" by Colts Master Loaf, and it says in it Walt Disney Enterprises. So that's different. Probably could be going back to the 50s or 60s. Also have the Living Seas, Sea Base Alpha, Epcot Center, with the old Epcot logo.
Nice.
And then another one, Epcot Center, where it has Mickey and Figment in the old spacesuit in front of Spaceship Earth with the old logo.
Oh yeah, with the almost like the Fab Four photo, right, Brian?
Yeah,
Pinwheel Pluto.
Well, Keith, I appreciate you bringing these onto the podcast and sharing them with everybody. We love hearing from our listeners, especially in like this, like a show and tell type thing. So if you can send us a couple pictures, we'll post.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll shoot you over some
Yeah,
bits.
that'll be fantastic. We'll post them with the podcast. I appreciate your time this evening, and keep on listening and let everybody know about us. So thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Keith. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Joe, welcome to the podcast. The first thing I have to say, based on the items in the background, which looks like a large table filled with all sorts of
freaking out, man.
Yeah, veggie, fruit. All right, what do we? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All the way from Georgia, and
Love it. You're off to the right, and everything is got.
Yeah. Anybody who shows up with the Mr. Tomato is okay in my book.
Yeah, exactly. Puffy shirt and all. Hold on.
If I did this.
Look at that, Mr. Broccoli.
Senior Broccoli.
Senior Broccoli. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I got a little carried away. I found my bin out in the garage, and before I knew it, I was going down a 40-year memory lane.
And is that a Gasparilla grill tray you've got back there?
That is, I think we just decided to keep it.
Well, on our ephemera episode, when we get into all the ephemera and paperwork, I'll admit to having a Flagler's menu. So, but yeah, so take us through some of your favorites here. So those of you at home, obviously we do a video feed here when we record the podcast, and Joe has assembled quite a variety of different things on what seems to be his dining room table, of which we can't see the table because it's
covered by a Jack Skellington thing.
I have one of the things on his table.
Well, let's go through and see, Brian. Okay. Let's see. What do we got, Joe?
Real quick. You see the Gasparilla there? These here, that is an old Betsy that we got in the early '70s from the Davy Crockett series. This here.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, so that's the longer one, right? Because they had the shorter one that I got years ago.
Yeah, see that? Hang on, there we go.
Yeah.
So he's for those who can't see this, he's holding up one of the classic like flintlock styled wooden guns with like metal.
And did that have the spot for the stick cap, right? You could stick the
yeah,
you could put the caps on there. You couldn't use the roll caps. Yep.
There it is.
Yep.
Oh, exciting.
I've got, this is one of my favorites, Electrical Water Pageant music.
Look at that record.
Yeah.
Flip over. What's the back?
Oh, look at
part 1, part 2.
How t-shirt idea right there. In the circle.
We'll talk about that.
I know.
That's where that's coming from.
Oh,
but How pulls out
it out. Oh,
that's excellent.
Show me mine, I'll show you yours.
Yeah.
Okay. Dixie Landings.
I have one of those.
Look at
somewhere.
that with the song of the South
is
characters
illegal.
on it. Yeah.
It's a refillable thermos. He's holding
refillable
up.
thermos of
Is that a
Dixie
lifetime
Landings.
one?
Yeah.
That's right. Not everyone's video.
That's right.
I mentioned this on the tweet. Polynesian Village Mai Tai glass.
I've got those are great. We've got
I think we got 3 of those. I did have a Mai Tai out of it here at the house, which was it tasted better.
Now, if you hold up that canister, that's the one you're going
yeah.
for. I have one of these.
So explain.
No one has this.
What is it?
It's a jigsaw puzzle that
Which
you
shows
could
in the
actually mail
back.
to someone.
Yeah, it was a self-mailer.
Oh,
It was a self-mailer.
Mailed that?
This one was $1.50.
So for the listeners, this is a can. It looks to be about the size of like a French's onion can, if you remember those. And inside is a jigsaw puzzle, and you would actually write your name, write the name and address of who you're sending to, a fixed postage. Does it say how much? Just how many ounces?
9 ounces, third-class mail.
Third class. Well, it's going steerage. So you would mail this canister as is as a souvenir, and you have one, Brian.
I do. I think it's a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle.
Sealed, or have you put it together?
No, I've never put it together, but I picked it up at a flea market probably 3 years ago, and I found it in the top of this closet here not long ago. And I'm like, hey, I forgot I had this.
We have a whole collection. I think we kept all our glasses. This is Italy,
Epcot glasses. Look at that. Yep.
They're in good condition. Italy, Germany.
Yep.
Got the old contemporary resort glass.
Oh, now that is a glass to be sipping something out of at the outer.
We're gonna have to take a picture and post a picture of that.
Yeah, we're gonna need photos of that.
Oh no! All right, here you go.
No, don't drop it. The America on Parade Super 8 color. Yep.
Super 8 in color.
It's a movie film that he's holding up.
Yeah. So this is that was a movie film of the parade. I think
yes.
I had one of those. I was planning on restoring it. I have not got around to that one yet. So.
Wow.
I had. You ever remember these things?
Oh, that was one of that's on my list of favorites that we're going to talk about.
He's holding up a Horizons puzzle.
Yeah. So this Horizons puzzle, they made them for all of them.
That's
right?
one of those slider things.
It was a 16. It was 4x4, right?
Yeah.
Mix that up.
So
you're
it was
screwed.
a 4x4 tiles, and there was one tile missing. Everybody's seen this before. You know the original game was you put the numbers in order, but
like a party favor.
Figment one, and you'd slide the tiles around, and they made them with the original logos on it. Which for anybody who can't stand things that are off center would get very disconcerted about that because they're all off center because of the missing tile.
That's horrible. I can't deal with that.
I've got. You know what? I can't believe we kept these. The little tickets you got.
15th anniversary ticket. Now those would, for those that didn't know, during the 15th anniversary celebration of Walt Disney World, every time you entered the park, the machine would spit out a ticket, and every so many people would win something. And the chances were pretty good. I remember we went home with a free one-day pass. We got a Discovery Island ticket. We got these silly headbands with LED lights.
Yeah,
it was a car a day.
Yeah,
and then they were silver visors.
Yep.
That had LED lights, and they said "winner" across the top. And you see them on eBay every now and then. They're the most ridiculous things.
And there's the 15. He's got the 15-year logo T-shirt, and they did give away a car every single day. I believe it was like
a Chevy Cavalier.
Was it
I thought it was a Chevy Cavalier.
I thought it was a New Yorker, but
we've actually repurposed that system for our monthly drawings. That's what runs our prizes. We rigged it.
Right. Now we're getting. This isn't going to do good video. 1971 wall mat.
Oh,
that's a real one.
That's a good one there.
Yeah, I had that on my walls. I got that one, and then
you can even hear the age of the paper as he unfolds that one.
You can see that. Yeah,
it's got tape marks and acid stains, all sorts of stuff.
And then I was thinking about what you guys were talking. Okay, Polynesian. I mean, all right, move on. There's two. You know, we're talking about these during the Epcot show.
Yeah, and actually,
I realized I've got both the original and the pictorial souvenir Epcot.
Nice. Okay, so now that answers a question from earlier in the episode. Actually, we couldn't answer. So let me see the difference there. So
I'll show you exactly what it is. So that's the cover.
Yep, what Joe is holding up is the Epcot Center pictorial souvenir, which we spoke of in 1982. Now he has the original one from the pre-opening, and then he also has one, and I believe it says pictorial souvenir on. Yep. Right below. So one was pre-opening. Have you flipped through it and compared? Is there any difference between the two?
They are virtually, from what I can tell, they're identical. The only difference is this one says pictorial souvenir and doesn't have the opening date because it's already open.
Interesting. And I know I have. Let's see. They're checking on the one I have. I believe I have the original here somewhere. Yeah, I have the early one that says the 21st century begins October 1st. So interesting. So what
I've got the commemorative tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I got like 5 of those, which is really cool.
Now, some of the commemorative Epcot opening tickets were also made in how was it silver? There was like a silver bar, right?
There was a silver case that that you would slip those tickets into. To keep them.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was also at some point like you said, like a souvenir kind of like silver bar sort of shape that the ticket was formed
right.
in.
And they go for a fair amount now and then. You see them pop up on eBay.
I've got some ridiculous stuff. Old Lake Buena Vista Village shopping.
Oh my God!
That is
the Lake Buena Vista shopping village carry-o bag.
Yeah,
That's
fantastic.
It's green with all those little
little birds in the.
Yeah. How is finding your address to come steal that tonight?
that 2-hour drive is looking mighty short.
Joe, he's got some publicity stills that he might want to sell you from Sid Cuengas.
Exactly.
In exchange for that,
I will give you a Turner and Hooch watch for that.
Turner and Hooch.
Yes.
Kill the dog, lose $30 million.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh.
We've got a couple of the old Disney news magazines that the Magic Kingdom Club got.
Right. Now, is this stuff that you have purveyed over a period of time of just purchasing, or is this stuff that you've accumulated from actual trips? Is this personal stuff or eBay finds or a mixture of both?
Oh, everything here is personal.
Okay. So you actually bought this stuff on trips and such.
Oh, yeah. The family's first trip, the family moved to Florida in August of 71, and the first trip was Thanksgiving 71.
Jeez.
And
so the park
I was born
6-8 weeks old at
that
point.
I was 2 months from. I was born in December of that year.
What's the percent chance that Joe's family is the one that took the film from November 71 that we reviewed?
Very, very possible.
You never know.
This is just collection. I mean, I've cut my 1979 guidebook, which I used to love because it had the just cool maps in there and the tickets in there. I mean, old vacation guide. There you go. I love that book.
It's a good one.
So which
that
one?
One and the Epcot spinning wheel one.
Oh, the Epcot spinning.
Oh, we got those.
Yep. About that.
I love those. Yeah, it's just cool stuff, and I think you were talking about what kind of souvenirs you really enjoy, whatnot. I think it's audiovisual stuff for me. It's anything that brings back sounds or sights for me. Everything is like those are things that really matter the most. So the books, because I see pictures that I remember them, or the record, anything audiovisual, it just sort of like it makes me remember what I did when I was that age and feeling good about that. And I think that's what it is for me.
Yep. And I'll tell you this, Joe, and this will be our first teaser to this. We did kind of tweet it out with, if you like audiovisual, we have a real treat coming up in the next couple weeks. We have secured over 1,200 feet of 16 millimeter film of Epcot Center from the early 80s, and we are going to transfer that and restore it. So that's
through Pixel,
through Pixel.com, which will he's got a Figment hat. The Figment hat.
You said Epcot.
The brim is
get out of town.
So look at that.
Somebody spilled their Mickey bar on it there.
So, Joe, I appreciate your time this evening and showing us your wide variety of. I mean, that tray is calling my name. That thing, that's awesome. I love.
Where's that for?
The Gasparilla Grill.
No clue.
It's now called Gasparilla Grill.
It has
Give me a location.
What's that?
Oh,
Where's it
Grand
at?
Floridian, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh,
It's one of the 4 themed restaurants in the Grand Floridian.
It's the quick service there, isn't it?
They don't let us campers in there.
I don't.
You might dine at Narcoossee's.
That's right.
Send us back to Pioneer Hall if we walk in there.
So. And going, but look at that.
There you go. See,
there's the logo.
If you have that shirt, you don't go to the Grand Floridian.
Right.
Okay, that looks like that's a 2T or a 3T shirt.
Yeah,
so was that your actual T-shirt when you were that young?
Small shirt.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So it doesn't still fit.
Give me a price. I want that for my daughter right now. Name your
good
price.
Lord.
Don't put Joe on.
We'll have to negotiate. We'll see what you got. We'll have a swap.
There we go. There we go. Well,
Thanks
Joe,
for
thanks for
Shop.
calling in this evening. I really appreciate it. Thank you for showing us your stuff. And if you
That,
could,
yeah,
it's
that's
really
an amazing collection.
fantastic collection
you.
of stuff.
That is
Thanks,
really,
guys. I
really
appreciate
nice.
it. Thanks so much.
No
Keep
problem.
up the good work.
Thank you much, Joe. Appreciate it. Wow, what a collection. What a collection. All right, so with that, let's talk a little bit about some of our own personal favorites. Hal, Brian, who wants to go first? Want to talk a little bit about your favorite stuff that you've picked up over the years, whether you bought it there when you were little or picked it up on eBay or other places along the way?
From my aunt, she took a trip to the Magic Kingdom in 1980, and she brought me home a Mickey Mouse plush, which I still have. And so the nose is gone because it had like a little poofball nose. But this was the standard plush that they sold in the parks back
No
then.
way.
It had these eyes that you can actually, like I said, you could pose and make Mickey cross-eyed or whatever. And so as a little kid, it was like the greatest thing in the world. So I had this, and I've kept it. We've even washed it once or twice. But even as little buttons or little felt things, like they're holding on.
Yeah.
So, but it's sturdy. It's nice and sturdy.
So my grandparents went down there in 1975. I was 1 year old. They bought back for me this interesting Mickey doll, which is a hard vinyl. You can hear when I knock on it. He's wearing a cotton jumper or cotton overalls, I guess you could say. I've never seen anything like it. And on the back, it says Walt Disney Productions, Mickey Mouse, made in Taiwan. That's it.
Not for children.
Yeah, I mean, this is not something you're going to cuddle up with. It's hard as anything. But you guys ever seen anything like that? He stands. I mean, he stands.
Can you fix his overall straps?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mickey's overall straps keep coming down, so it's a little inappropriate here. So.
Oh my gosh, that is so weird looking. I don't like his right arm.
Well, his nose is. I don't know. It's a little. I don't know.
It looks vaguely familiar, and I think
Really?
something to point out is just in the 70s, just like how terrible like most of the Mickey Mouse merchandise was. It like didn't look anything like him. It was very unappealing.
Right.
No, they didn't do a lot of quality control back then.
No,
his squeaky arms are.
Yeah,
just...
his arms are a little squeaky when you move. But so the left arm is straight, as you can see, and then the right arm is slightly bent at the elbow,
and his hands are in a cupping motion. There is now. What is that called? Now, is there more of those on eBay?
I don't know. We're gonna have to look this up. It's like a vinyl. It's actually PVC, I think.
It's a ringing a bell. It's like there's something about like that hand and the mouth. Like that's why I didn't know if it like blew up a balloon but there's something there that's.
Yeah, you can't squeeze the belly. Nothing comes out.
What if you move his arm? Does air come out that way?
Well, nothing goes any which way. It's like, what do you do with them? And like I said, you're not gonna give this to a kid and let him sleep with it. It's hard.
Like if a straw went into his mouth, like he's.
But the hands don't even line up. I mean, maybe it came. So we're gonna have to do some research on this, and I'll have to take a picture of this guy.
Yes.
He looks better than other Mickeys, but he's something still out of whack. He does. Yeah. So. Anyway, so Brian, you had a couple other things that you like too, right?
I do. I have one other plush.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, maybe early 2000s, in each of the World Showcase pavilions, they sold Beanie Babies that were themed to the country.
Oh yeah.
So I have a Beefeater Mickey, which I bought for a friend of mine who lives in England and never sent him. So 15 years later, here it sits.
So if your friend is listening,
and it's mine now.
Yeah.
But two other things. I actually tweeted a picture of this earlier. We'll post it. I have the light switch plates that they sold in Epcot when it opened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So they had a figment, that you would replace the light switch in your home with. Sure. This. There was a figment one, and then they also had a Future World one, which had the astronaut from the Spaceship Earth mural on it.
Oh wow!
Oh cool.
So I have both of them. The figment one's actually in my closet upstairs, in my walk-in closet in the bedroom. The spaceship one, I haven't found a spot in the house where only I'll see it and no one else will. So that one's not up yet.
Cool.
But I do have both of them, and they're very cool. And then the last thing is these come up on eBay every so often for like $100, but They sold a beach towel in Epcot when it first opened, and actually all throughout the 80s. And it was the beach towel, when you laid it out, said Epcot Center on it, and it had Figment laying out on the beach towel with his hands behind his head and suntan lotion and sunglasses. And so they don't come up that often, and obviously most of them are used. But when they do, they're very valuable. So I always thought that was a really cool collectible when Disney didn't have 25 beach towels for sale in most gift shops.
Right.
Like they do today.
They do now. Yeah, way too many. Now, how you've got a couple things. One of yours, your first one on your list here, really hits home with me because it's definitely on my list. So.
Oh boy! So what was the first one on the list?
You had attraction LPs.
Oh yeah.
So were these specific, just like a Pirates of the Caribbean LP? Or...
Yeah. So one of the great souvenirs that they sold there, and these, I don't know, I assume these were sold elsewhere, but Disneyland Records sold tons of 33 1/3 attraction LPs. So I have Hall of Presidents, which is very stately.
Now, what is on that? What's on the hall? Is it a recording of the?
Yeah. So side one is a complete recording of the Hall of Presidents.
Oh, so the entire show.
The entire show, including such favorites as the Whiskey Rebellion.
Such favorites. You know, kids, pull up a chair. We're going to listen to the Whiskey Rebellion.
That's a hot track.
It is. Yeah, it is really.
An incident known as the Whiskey Rebellion. In colonial times, corn was an abundant crop but difficult to transport.
Could you remix that for us into a song?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
And then one of the nice things that all of these books have is once you get inside, there's always a nice little booklet. Mm-hmm. So like it's got some of the artwork.
Oh wow! Look at
from the Hall of Presidents in here. And here we go. Here's South Carolina with Jackson.
Yep.
Here's where someone calls Abraham Lincoln a tall drink of water. And the best part of the whole thing is like it really is
Space
it's filled
Race,
with all those like Sam McKim, all those pictures that you saw in the original film are all in there.
Yep.
And then when you get to the gatefold, it is a diagram showing you the locations of all of the presidents within the Hall of Presidents.
That's up to what, Reagan?
As of
no, it's probably shorter than that.
Let's
Carter.
That would probably be Nixon or.
Well, yeah, there's 36 in here.
Okay,
so that's Johnson.
Oh.
Well, unless they don't count Grover Cleveland twice. So
do you want me to read them all?
Then you'd be up to Nixon. So.
If someone can do the, I'll say.
Yeah, no, you'd be up to Nixon because they don't introduce Grover Cleveland twice.
Yes, yeah.
And
so
he had
Nixon, Nixon is in here.
Yeah.
So that's a real good one.
Cool.
Voice of Lincoln, Royal Dano, narrator Lawrence Dobkin. Then there's the Orange Bird LP, which a lot of people have seen, which includes the story and the song of the orange bird inside of it.
I have the 45 version of that.
That's good too. One of my favorite bands, the Adventureland Steel Band, who's actually JP and the Silver Stars, but they for some reason did not give them the real name on there. This was not available in the park, but you could get it. It's the Michael Iceberg of the Tomorrowland Terrace, where he would play his synthesizer in there. And I actually was able to get this from Michael Iceberg's website on CD for the first time, and it is crystal clear and beautiful. So if any of you are out there are Michael Iceberg fans, I will put a link on there because the CDs are remastered from the original tapes, and it sounds phenomenal. Country Bear Jamboree, which has tons of illustrations inside, a bunch of Mark Davis drawings. The Enchanted Tiki Room, which is a Disneyland and Walt Disney, and the B-side of that is a incredibly straight version of The Jungle Cruise, narrated by Thurl Ravenscroft, which is pretty cool. And then finally, the Epcot Center LP, which I'm sure everybody saw for sale in the Centaurium.
That's on my list, Hal. That's on my favorite. That album, I played that Epcot Center album over and over and over again. It's still to this day, I think, one of the best albums ever.
It's got the computer song.
I was gonna say it has the Studio computer song. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody.
And that's why I'm a rooter for the computer.
So this LP cost $5.98.
Yep. I probably bought that at the same time I bought those dang little coins.
And then my other favorite souvenir is for the longest time they sold these. Again, when we talk about like they didn't have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different souvenirs. They for some reason always had like little flashlights or pen lights. So I still have somewhere a powder blue pen light where that had the old Walt Disney World logo running down the side, and then when you it was a kind where you could kind of like a pen where you could like stick it in your pocket, and then when you push down on the on the little part, it would actually turn it on.
Yep.
So that was great for carrying around. And that's when I first started like sneaking around and looking for things.
Did they have one of those pens with the monorail when you tip the pen back and forth? Those clear ones in the monorail would slide, or the train
in the 90s?
Did they have them?
Yes.
Okay. So
potentially earlier, but I know definitely in the 90s I remember those.
Right. So cool. Excellent. Well, I've got a couple. You know what's interesting about this episode is that through this entire episode, we have hit almost every single one of my favorites. So this is what's on my list. The Epcot Center album you just spoke of, right? Pictorial Souvenirs, which we led off with. The Horizons puzzle, which Joe had, the puzzle. The 1971 license plate. The coins we talked about. The ephemera. I think that's a whole other episode, though. All the different ephemera things that we could stay. I do have the salt and pepper shakers from Epcot. Does anybody remember those?
I have them.
The little rainbow colored ones. Yeah.
The ceramic ones. Yeah.
Those are great. I do have one other very old one that we've talked about this one before. The Story of Walt Disney World.
That's a great book.
Yeah, the commemorative edition and the big black D. I mean, this is a fabulous book we've talked about. Another one of my favorite ones too. Again, if you haven't noticed, I stuck to, just as Joe talked about audiovisual, I stuck to purchasing things like books and recordings and pictorial souvenirs and all that. But obviously the Walt Disney's Epcot book, another fantastic book. I mean, this was huge if you get a chance to. I didn't go there buying plush. I did. I do remember in the 80s, Figment was huge. I came home with a Figment plush and I loved that thing. I think my brother came home with one as well. But I started to really save all the different wacky items. I saved notepads and pens and soaps and different things like that over the years. So that obviously is going to lend to what I was alluding to earlier, the ephemera episode, where we can really get into all those different things that people have saved over the years, the tickets and stuff like that. So, all right. So, Hal, you've got a project going on to help us improve some of our recording equipment and as well as get some cool ideas out to our listeners, don't you?
That's right. So what we're trying to do this month is we're going to kick off something new. It's like we're going to start offering some T-shirts for sale with some retro designs and some new designs based on some of the shows that we've done before. And our goal here is just simply to kind of upgrade everybody's equipment so that way we can present the best quality show that we can. It's like we have some pretty modest goals. So this month we're going to offer 2 shirts to start out to see how things go. We're going to have one design that's based on the Electrical Water Pageant, which is really fun. And in fact, that design is based on the Electrical Water Pageant record that we talked about tonight.
Very cool design.
Yeah, it looks
and
awesome.
then there's another one that's not particularly Disney looking, but since we did World of Motion last time and we talked about It's Fun to Be Free, it seemed to me that there was a connection there for the 4th of July. So I did kind of like a 4th of July fireworks inspired version of that. So there'll be a link in the show notes and you can go off and take a look at those. And if you would, get yourself a nice T-shirt and we'll put a little money aside to get everybody some new microphones so we can do this in crystal clear audio.
That's right. So how is our resident audiophile? He's got the setup and we need to get some better mics on the rest of us. So, well, Hal, thank you for putting together all the artwork. The T-shirts look great, and we'll send out.
These are exclusive, though.
Yeah, they are. That's true.
These aren't something you can find anywhere else other than from us. So
limited edition.
From Hal. Yeah.
We may even stop production after 1 month. You never know.
Yeah, some of them are. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm going to buy some myself. So
20 years from now, people will be recording podcasts about our retro merchandise that we sold.
That's right. So, JT, what do we have in the viewer mailbag this month? You've been
patiently waiting, and we got a lot. You were out there.
Yeah, we did. Well, we had the call for souvenirs.
Yeah.
Tell us about your souvenirs. We got some tweets. We got some emails. We got all kinds of stuff. The one that kind of caught my eye and going to spotlight this is from Johnny Kunzer. He sent us a picture of a piece of jewelry from the Lake Buena Vista Village. And the exciting part isn't really necessarily the jewelry, but it's the actual box. You flip it open, and where it would normally say, Jared or, whatever it is, it actually says Lake Buena Vista Village with the old logo kind of all embossed in gold into the fabric inside the box. So very, very cool piece that he's saved over the years.
I want to give a little hat tip here to Foxy Hooves at MK Pony, who took a look at that picture for me and told me that the jeweler used those boxes the first couple of years that Lake Buena Vista Village was open.
Wow.
So by around 75, they would have been no more. So this is definitely from the earliest years of Lake Buena Vista Village.
It's a big deal.
Cool.
Very cool.
I've never seen anything like that before.
No, we'll post a picture.
Yeah, definitely a rare piece. So, thanks to everybody who's writing. I know this month we're a little pressured for time. We got a lot of people sending in their souvenirs. We'll try to post some of the other pictures if we can. I think we'll probably make an album online since we have so many things to discuss and add. But JT, tell our listeners where they can write in, and we'll read their comments on the air.
Yeah, we accept all your messages. podcast@retrodisneyworld.com is the email. You can tweet at us. You can follow us on Instagram and kind of mention us in a picture that way. So however you want to send us something, go ahead and do it.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, it's that time for the audio rewind, and let's guys. Now, how the answer to last month's, and this was quite the challenge. JT and Brian, did you get it?
I did not get it.
Okay.
I did not get it till someone sent us the correct answer, and I think one of you noted that, hey, somebody finally gave us the right answer.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I will say we probably got more incorrect answers on this one than we've ever received in response to anything we posted.
You are correct about the incorrect answer. So let's take a listen again and see if you guys can pull up on it and see what it is.
Beyond the contemporary resort across Bay Lake is the Fort Wilderness Campground Resort. There you'll find river country, a Disney recreation of an old-fashioned swimming hole with rope swings, rapids, a giant twisting water slide, and the world's largest outdoor heated pool.
All right, so that was last month's. Now, for everybody who wrote in and said the monorail, I am sorry to say that it was not the monorail ride from the Ticket and Transportation Center to the Magic Kingdom. Dang it. Everybody heard that voice and said, oh, that's what it is. The correct answer is the ferry between the Ticket and Transportation and the Magic Kingdom, not the monorail. Now, how was this one of your recordings, or did you have this?
No, this was one of my recordings.
One of your recordings. Tell the listeners what the clues are in this so that it's the ferry and not the monorail.
Well, Jack Wagner definitely recorded the monorail spiels as well, which is why I think, and most people probably remember the fact that the spiels ran on the monorail more so.
Plus, more people were on the monorail than the ferry boat too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a specific, probably the locations where they describe the relationship of the different bits and pieces to each other. I'm not sure if there was a dead giveaway. The fact that it talked about
Fort Wilderness, right?
Yeah, Fort Wilderness and in particular, River Country, because that section mentioned River Country, which was kind of rare.
Right, so on the ride over, you probably if you're going the other way.
Yeah, so I actually recorded that in both directions that day, and it was remarkably similar.
Interesting, just slightly out of sync with the other one. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, we do have a winner this month, and that winner is Robert Myers. So, Robert, congratulations. And
this month's prize is a 1993 Walt Disney World calendar, right? Wasn't that what
that's right. The calendar. The calendar.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
I think I had the 1993 Walt Disney World calendar.
So
which can be used in what year?
Oh, there was a number of them, right?
I told you it was 2021. I think is
that's the next one.
year.
So you got about
So
a
Robert,
little bit of time.
we'll send that medium mail. We've got a number of years before it needs to arrive for any real usage. But so we do have another audio rewind for this month, and let's take a listen right now. Okay, so if you have a guess to find out what the audio rewind answer is for this month, send your answers to podcast@retrodisneyworld.com. All correct answers will be entered into a drawing for the prize. And guys, what do you want to give away this month? Do we have anything in mind? I've got one if nobody does.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
What do you got?
I have a transportation poster that was drawn by one of our our sponsors a couple months back. It has a profile drawing of almost every single method of transportation from opening until now of Walt Disney World. So it's a nice size poster, nice paper, really nice print. So we're going to give that out this month to the winner. So
these are very cool.
They are very cool.
I've
got a really neat stuff. So if you know the answer, send it into podcast at Retro Disney World. Again, all correct answers will be entered into a drawing for the poster. And
I'm very proud, by the way, of my contribution to that poster, which he shared with us before he was finished and going to production, and said, "Is there any vehicles that I'm missing?" And I noticed that not listed there was the short-lived Animal Kingdom Discovery Riverboat cruise craft. Which did make it into the final poster. So that's my legacy.
Which, as we said earlier tonight, that's not retro enough, but we actually did find something retro about it that was added in.
Yeah.
And again, too, if you are a winner or you do have a correct answer, even if you don't win the prize each month, you will be entered into the large prize, which is a reproduction Paul Hartley map from wdwmap.com. And the attraction poster we're talking about is also from Chris Buckholes. So we've talked about him before, and we'll get that prize out to the winner. So, all right. So we've gone through quite a bit. We've gone through viewer souvenir favorites, the puzzler, viewer mail. I think, guys, it's about time we wrap this up. Let me go through some of the sponsors, and then I think we'll close it out for the night. So, sponsors, again, even though we didn't do our video or film restoration this month, we still want to give a shout out and a thanks to Pixel for a thoughtful once-in-a-lifetime gift. Contact Pixel to create pristine digital transfers from your old home movies, photos, videotapes, or slides, now available in the cloud with the Reflectera app. To get started today, visit Pixel.com or call 1-800-557-3508. You can also visit us at retrodisneyworld.com/imageworks, and from there we'll provide an additional 10% off coupon and free restoration. And for those of you out there, I am looking for more film to add to our collection and to restore. So if you do have anything, videos, slides, and especially home movies, do let us know. And if you're interested in any of that or have any questions on it, you can email us at info@retrodisneyworld.com. With that said, also, too, a shout out and a thanks to Chris Buckholes for the attraction poster for this month's puzzler, as well as Chad over at wdwmap.com. So with that, Brian, JT, Hal, let's let everybody know where we can find each other. And as always, Retro Disney World's on Facebook, as well as on Twitter as @RetroWDW, and of course, RetroDisneyWorld.com. Brian?
You can find me on Twitter at Brian P. Miles. That's Miles with an I and Brian with an I. You can also find me on Facebook /Brian P. Miles.
I'm at LS1JT on Twitter.
I am at Go Away Green on Twitter, and because we're doing souvenirs this month, it's if you check out the Go Away Green account on eBay, it's like I'm gonna put a bunch of my old Disney souvenirs up there so we can pass them on to the next generation. So
very nice.
Check that out. Some of the stuff we talked about tonight, you'll be able to get for yourself if you really love it.
Look at the
autograph. I thought when you referenced that we were doing retro stuff tonight, you were going to give like your CompuServe address or something.
Prodigy mail.
Prodigy mail style.
AOL, $4 billion. That's
that's it.
Find me on Sabre.
Sabre.
All right. So, and to all of our listeners out there, thank you and much appreciated all your continual email. Please continue to email us at info@retrodisneyworld.com. And if you do have a chance, give us a shout out and a review on iTunes if possible. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next month. The topic is yet to be determined, but I'm sure it'll be a good one. So until then, Brian, take us out.
Until next time, make it a stretch. On the other hand, make it a super stretch.
Veggie fruit, fruit, veggie, veggie fruit, fruit. Veggie fruit, fruit, veggie, veggie fruit.
I simply have to tell you that my friends who are singing are delectable. Meals are divine as long as you can dine with fruit and vegetables. They're good for you, everyone. They make your meals a lot of fun. Like a carnival, it's nice to be with fruit and vegetables. And now, ladies and gentlemen, those fresh, ripe performers, the colander combo and the fiesta fruit.
There are no substitutes for wee veggie fruit, fruit, veggie, veggie fruit, fruit. You see, a balanced meal always wins with our vitamins. A and C, C, fruit, fruit, veggie, veggie, fruit, fruit, veggie, fruit, fruit.
My friends are exciting, just like fireworks igniting. They're incredible. Sparks always fly each and every time you try fruit and vegetables. They're inviting and delighting anytime you're with them. It's a treat.